Hi, everyone. My name is Liz Alexander, and I am a success coach here at the Student Success Center. And I am very honored to be with you today as I get the privilege of talking about this workshop, and that is setting SMART goals. So, today we're going to be talking about setting SMART goals. So, let's first define what is a goal. Well, according to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, a goal is defined as the end toward which effort is directed, which is quite interesting when we think about it. When somebody says, hey, think about a goal, the majority of us will. However, a large percentage will not do anything about it. What I mean by that is there's no intentionality or there's no effort. But according to this definition, there has to be effort and intentionality behind a goal in order to achieve it. In other words, a goal allows you to focus your attention and resources on the most important items that are going on in your life right now. So that way you can achieve them and thus have success, which we all want. So when I say SMART goals, I don't necessarily mean that my goals are way better than yours. Actually, that's not the case at all. It doesn't make my goals or SMART goals any more genius. In fact, SMART goals are just parameters that help ensure the achievement and success of your goals. As you can see here, I've listed it before you. SMART is an acronym. S stands for specific, M is for measurable, A is for achievable, R is for relevant, and T is for timely. These are just parameters that we use when we set our goals. And we're going to get into them, each and every single one of them. So let's start with S, specific. The big question here is, what will be accomplished? Let's involve the W questions. We're very familiar with them. The who, the what, the when, the where, and the why, and the how. But when we ask these questions, let's direct them and target them toward our goals. For example, who is going to be responsible for achieving this goal? Is it just going to be me? Will there be anybody else that's going to be involved in achieving this goal? Is it a group project? So will there be others that need to be involved with this goal? What is the goal? What's supposed to be accomplished? What am I trying to accomplish? When do I need to accomplish this goal? Where should I accomplish this goal? Should I accomplish it at home? At the university? Do I need to go somewhere else to accomplish the goal? Is it a project of some sort? And why will I accomplish it? Why does it need to be accomplished? Then finally, how? How should this goal be accomplished is the next question. Now, when it comes to being specific, this includes action, as with every goal. And sometimes it's really beneficial for everyone to pretty much identify some actions when we determine our goals. I have some action words on this next slide that may be beneficial to you when determining those goals. I have oversee, update, write, which is very important to a student. There's also plan, implement, evaluate, produce, provide, develop, manage, create. You can even put research. And I do want to also let you all know that these action words, the goals aren't necessarily limited to these action words. In fact, you can use other action words to help specify your goals and what you're wanting to accomplish with these goals. Now, let's move on to M, measurable. What data will measure the goal? So first and foremost, let's determine a metric or some metrics. This can look like an hour of study time, or maybe reading a chapter every night, or maybe 3 pages every night. It can be making sure that you write 2 paragraphs each week in order to accomplish a research paper that you know you have coming up. So sometimes it's important to determine those metrics. What's going to be your data that you're going to be using? Next, ask yourself, what will success look like? What will it look like for me? What am I needing it to look like for this goal? Is it something that I want to accomplish in the sense of a research paper or just reading time? Just asking yourself what that success may look like will help really focus in on the data. Now, I think it's very important to set milestones, especially for long term goals. Now, with long term goals, this can be up to 4 months, 6 months, maybe a year. It can even be 3 months. However, if it's a long-term goal and you know there's going to be some time from when you first received the goal or when you first received the item to the completion of the item, and you know you might forget about it, then it's probably best to set some milestones in between that time in order to make sure that you are accomplishing those goals or accomplishing that one goal. For example, say if it is a research paper. I know that's my go-to example, but it's so important and so relevant to us as students. So say if you're having a research paper and it's due November, let's say November 1st. You just got it first week of school, it was on the syllabus, and you know you're going to forget about it. Well, it's really important to start setting those milestones for yourself so that way you can start working on the research paper instead of doing it maybe the night before it's due. Now, I also want to remind you that any of these results, the data that you're using for this parameter, can be either quantitative or qualitative. Meaning quantitative, we think of quantity. So it can be like finishing 20 chapters. And that's how you know you've completed your goal when you finish those 20 chapters. Some kind of numerical item is what we think of quantitative. Now, qualitative can be more of like a survey, or maybe a professor telling you good job. Maybe somebody speaking into your life saying, hey, I've noticed this change and how you're a little bit more focused or a little bit more intentional with your study time. And I've noticed that you've been doing that. So that can even serve as some kind of qualitative data for yourself. Now on to the next parameter. We have A for achievable. Is the goal doable? So important, so important. This parameter really focuses on the goal's importance. We're wanting to ask, what can you do to make this goal attainable? Now, when we think of a goal, we're like, sure, it's achievable, but then we have to ask ourselves, is it achievable? Am I able to achieve it? Can I do this goal? And again, that's not to discourage you or dishearten you at all, but that serves as just a point of being realistic and asking yourself those hard questions. If you are able to achieve it, great. But not, then ask yourself, do I have those tools or those skills that I need? If I don't have those skills or those tools that I need, what will that require of me? Well, it may require change, maybe a change of attitude, a change of how you do something, a change of pattern, or possibly development of new skills. A really great example of this is when I meet a new student and their professor just told them about Trabian style formatting. Now, if this is the first time you're hearing about it, no worries. The Student Success will definitely help you and support you. Just come pay us a visit and we'll get you the resources you need. But many students have heard of Trabian formatting for the first time here at the King's University. And when they hear that they have to write their papers in this formatting style, usually they get really nervous, really anxious. Trust me, I've been there. However, this would be a great example of learning how to write in Trabian and learning the formatting style in order to write the paper that you need to write and thus submit it, getting a better grade versus not learning it at all. So that's just one example for this parameter. Now for the next parameter, we have relevant. Why is the result important to you? That's really what this parameter focuses on, is why is the result important to you as the student? Why do you want to do it? What's the point of it all, really? Does this make sense with your other goals? Is really a question to ask yourself. Does it make sense with what's going on in your life right now? Is it worth your while? For example, say if you set a goal for yourself to read 3 chapters every single night of the week, but you're also, a full-time parent, or you have your family, you have a full-time job, maybe you're in full-time ministry. Say you have a lot going on in your life. That might not be as relevant to you or make sense with your other goals. That might not be the best thing for you to read 3 chapters every single night. Maybe you can read 3 chapters on Monday because it's a lighter load, then take a break on Tuesday because that's when it's more family focused, and then begin to determine what days are best for you, and then make those adjustments. But ultimately, you just have to ask yourself, is this relevant to what I'm doing? Another example is what I've seen some students do in the past is they'll set so many goals for themselves, which is it's absolutely incredible. However, they begin to overwhelm themselves. So now they have tons of goals, but a large majority of them aren't relevant to the season that they're in. And they've just overwhelmed themselves trying to accomplish all of them because they think they should. Maybe being relevant and kind of determining those goals that are relevant and saying, okay, what goals do I really truly need to accomplish within this season of life? The final parameter that we have here is timely. What is the time frame for accomplishing this goal? I love this goal, this parameter. I love this parameter so, so much. And I really have to just emphasize set deadlines. No matter what you do, with every goal, say if you skip a step, don't skip this parameter. Always set deadlines. It is so important, so crucial to the success of your goals, and just your success overall. Um, I know people don't like deadlines. Sometimes it's a bit intimidating. It may seem a little scary or overwhelming, but trust me, setting deadlines truly do help. Now, I know we talked about it before, but say if you do have long-term goals, for example, like a research paper, ask yourself the question, do you need to chunk your goal? Meaning, do you need to break it down into smaller goals, smaller, more bite-sized goals that you can achieve along the way? And say if you do set those goals, those smaller goals, and you begin to chunk it, it's just a term that we use, make sure to go ahead and set deadlines to those smaller goals as well. So that way you know when to accomplish those things, and so you don't always push it to the very, very end, because I know sometimes that's something that we're all tempted to do, especially when life gets busy or we just don't want to do anything related to that assignment and kind of push it off. Make sure to set those deadlines and just give them deadlines for each goal so that way you're on top of it. Another question to ask yourself is, should I create a timeline? Again, if you have especially long-term goals, something that you know is going to take some time to create or to produce, like that research paper or a reflective essay, or any assignment that you know is going to take a bit of time, yes, create a timeline. So important. And it's so visually appealing to learners as well. Once you see it on paper, you can help play with it. You can move it around to fit your schedule and fit your needs. And so that way you can see it and it looks a bit more appealing to you versus just setting dates and numbers, and it might scare you a bit. So maybe setting a timeline can be very beneficial to you. So I would recommend it. Now, another thing that I truly do encourage every single student is to place every deadline that you have set for yourself, for your goals, on your calendar and or a planner. Always put it on there so that way you can see it and you're reminded of it constantly. Again, it's just that visual aid that's going to be super beneficial for you. And that way you can just take a look, take a glance, like, okay, it's in the back of your mind and you're kind of already thinking ahead on it. So as I had before, these are the SMART goals. The acronym is laid out here. I know I used this slide earlier in the presentation. However, I also included some questions along with it, just the important questions that really stand out. So that way you can ask yourself these questions as you begin to generate your own SMART goals. So this is just a friendly exercise, something to look at as reference, but we need to go over some real life examples, the to-dos and the not to-dos. Of course, we're going to start with what not to do. So here are just some examples that I have listed, and we're just going to go over these and I'll just go ahead and explain why they don't truly work when setting a SMART goal. Now for the first one, we have not specific. I'm going to be happier. Although that's a great goal, there's nothing behind it. How are you going to be happier? What's going to make you happier? A better goal, a more specific goal here or a parameter here is I'm going to be happier because I will be exercising 3 times a week, and that's going to help my motivation and my energy. So that might be an example of a more specific parameter there. The next goal is not measurable. So this isn't going to be measurable. It says I'm going to increase my savings. Again, we have to ask the question, how are you going to do that? How are you going to increase your savings? A better way to be, again, more specific is to add the numerical value to this and say, I'm going to increase my savings every week with $20. I'm going to add $20 to my bank account, to my savings account every week. And that's how I'm going to increase it. Okay, now we have something that we can measure it by. For Achievable, it says, I will go on 30 job interviews per month. Friends, that is not an achievable goal. That is a very tough goal and it's very overwhelming. A better goal would be, I will go on 2 to 3 job interviews per week. Again, it's a little bit more achievable. It's something that's more doable versus doing 30 job interviews per month. It's just a bit overwhelming there. The next one it's just not relevant. As an 8th grader, I'm going to get ahead of the game and apply to 10 colleges this year. This individual is not a junior nor senior in high school, and they're an 8th grader. So again, this just isn't relevant to an 8th grader's world at this time. So it's just not relevant. And then for the final one, I will be at a healthy weight someday. Again, there is no deadline. There's nothing that is binding this goal at a certain point. So a better example would be I will be at a healthy weight within a year or within 9 months, something that kind of sets that deadline. There should be a deadline there. So again, these are just examples of what not to do. As you can tell, some of them were missing just more specific details or just ways to measure the data. I would just encourage that you apply those items. Now here's an example of what to do. Here's the goal. I will become more organized and turning in my assignments on time by purchasing a new planner and setting aside 1 hour each week to mark down all my upcoming due dates for the week. So for the specific parameter, we have the main goal is to turn in assignments on time. Okay, that makes sense. We get that. Now measurable. There are some clear steps here. All right, we see that. And then they have more detailed information. It's going to be 1 hour per week, which is a clear time commitment. Now for achievable, it's 1 hour is a reasonable amount of time to do this. And a simple planner is easy to purchase and it is easy to use. For relevant, the steps taken will serve the overall goal, which is helping the student becoming more organized. It can also be helping the student become a better student as well. And then timely, this goal provides the opportunity for a weekly check-in. So that way the student can come in every single week and check in on their assignments, see how they're doing, and see how they're organized every single week. So again, this is just a great example of what SMART goals can do for you and how you can achieve success. We've covered SMART goals, we've covered the what to do and what not to do. So this is called follow through with your goals, or in other words, what's next? So staying on track with your goals. I encourage everyone to just write your goals down. Write them down, whether that is in your planner, your calendar, write them on a notebook, uh, print it out somewhere and post it on your mirror, put it on your fridge, put it somewhere where you can see it and it can serve as a daily reminder, maybe weekly reminder for you. So that way you're always seeing that goal. Sometimes we may set our SMART goals and we're like, yeah, we set those SMART goals. We did it. This is how we're going to do all of it. And then over time, we kind of forget about those SMART goals. And we're like, oh, yeah, I did do that. Oops. And then there goes all of our hard work. Instead, write it down somewhere so that way you can always be reminded and kind of always have it in the back of your mind, maybe at the forefront, and just say, okay, this is my goal for this week, or this is something that I've been wanting to accomplish for a while. And again, it can be related to school, it can be related to work, it can be related to your personal life as well. So it's just a good practice to have. The next one tip that I would recommend is to share your goals with relevant people. Now, when you begin to share your goals, you're really setting that tone of accountability. And so, as you begin to share, you're letting people into your world and asking for help in a sense too. And I know that can be a little bit difficult. However, um, when I say relevant people, people that you know are going to be supportive and encouraging and are ultimately going to be cheering and celebrating you along the way. So this may look like a roommate, or maybe a fellow student or colleague that you have the same class with, and you know you have this assignment due together. You can be encouraging one another, but also keeping each other accountable. It can be a family member or even a friend, maybe even a mentor. For my next tip, this is one of my favorite tips: celebrate your wins. Goals can be tough, and life does happen. And sometimes we don't always get to accomplish the goals that we want to accomplish. We may not. Again, stuff does happen. But I always want to encourage every student out there to just celebrate your win. Say if you were able to write a SMART goal or write couple SMART goals, that's something to be celebrated. Say if you started on that process and maybe it didn't work out the way you wanted it to later down the semester, that's okay. Celebrate your win. You still tried and continue to try. Something that I also like to tell my students is it's okay to celebrate your progress. Yes, it may not happen the way we wanted it to, or something occurred where we couldn't achieve what we wanted to achieve. However, let's take a look and see where there was progress and celebrate that, because that's something that needs to be commended. So just take those moments throughout the semester or through your academic career to just take those wins and allow that to encourage you to continue taking those steps forward. Now, for my final tip, it's called evaluate regularly and readjust accordingly. Evaluate your goals, friends. This is, again, just one of those items that we forget to do, but it is very important to just take some time to evaluate regularly, because something that you may have written as a student or a freshman may not be the same when you're a junior down the line. Your goals may be completely different. So take the time to evaluate your goals, Are they still relevant to you? Is this still specific? Is this still measurable? Or is there maybe another way to measure your goals? Um, Again, you just take those check-ins, and you can make this daily, you can do this weekly, maybe even monthly, and just taking the time to evaluate them, and then go ahead and readjust accordingly. It's okay to go ahead and do that because seasons change. You may change as a person as well, and so you want your goals to also change with you and make sure that you are achieving the success that you need to achieve within the season that you're in. With that being said, I have some references on this next page for you to go over if you'd like to, of just where I got some of my information. And there's some other examples if you want to look up more examples um, to how to write SMART goals. But ultimately, that is it. And I just want to thank you all for joining me today. Um, and I just wish you the best here at TKU.